You good?
All right,
Let's get it.
All right, welcome back. Voice from the bleachers. I'm Leo again, here with my partner Jose.
Another day, another video, another story.
Switching up locations a little, if you haven't noticed.
Still undisclosed. Not the weekend anymore, it's on Monday.
Recording on a Monday.
Happy Labor Day to everyone.
Oh.
All you laborers.
All you laborers. All right.
Celebrating this day.
And we're here to make another video. We didn't get discouraged. We only got 16 views on the first one, but we're back with another one. And today we're talking some good stuff. For all the Premier League fans out there, get excited because we're ready to break it down for you.
But only Premier League fans of good teams.
Yeah. We're not here to discuss the Southamptons, the West Broms.
Hey, West Brom's got Brom done.
Okay. Put your Venezuelan pride away for a second. We're here to talk about the good teams and Arsenal. So let's get into it.
Started off with last year's champions, Chelsea.
All right.
Maybe not the window they wanted.
I agree.
Their additions not quite high profile. Their losses also not high profile. Are they still the favorites to win for you? What do you think of how they changed their team for 2017 and their outlook for the upcoming season?
So I'm gonna make a point that you've told me off camera is that they've added depth to their team. Maybe not the highest profile players, maybe not superstars, but players they can add to their rotation because they are now playing Champions League football, which they didn't play last year. And it seems in the last 2 seasons, the team that hasn't played Champions League football has won the league because they haven't had that burden of playing as many games.
Well, you're referring to the lesser Championship.
The lesser Championship.
This year before. That's sort of a one-off. So I don't know if we should use it for predictive purposes. Like, hey, this happened this year. But I agree with you. Last year, Chelsea didn't have the commitment of the Champions League.
Yeah.
Hazard and Costa didn't have to go play away somewhere.
Exactly.
They could stay in England and get ready for the upcoming game that weekend. And
they were well rested for every week.
Exactly. That's going to hurt them this season when they sort of have the same disadvantages that United, City, Liverpool, and other teams have that they didn't have last year.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, let's just tell them who Chelsea have added this season. So they brought in Morata from Real Madrid, a great young striker. That's a great signing for them. Rudiger, is that how you say it? Rudiger.
Yeah, Tony Rudiger from Roma.
From Roma, the German center back.
Bakayoko.
From Monaco. More like a Conte. They brought in another Conte.
Yeah, and
a lesser Conte.
That also leads to one of my biggest worries with them. They didn't really add any creativity in the midfield.
Yeah, and they lost some creativity in Matic.
Yeah,
who was probably, I think, their better midfielder.
I mean, it really is. I mean, Fabregas, for all his great talents.
If we're in 2017, we're still playing Fabregas.
He had his good moments last year, but now with the Champions League, can you keep him rested for the big games? Can you keep him rested for the end of the season? I don't think so. And the Bakayoko Conte midfield isn't the most creative one. I think you're going to be pinning a lot of your hopes.
You worry about getting the ball up to the strikers. Like, who's really getting the ball?
I think you're going to be pinning your hopes a lot on Hazard being able to create for that team.
And on your defense to contain the offensive attack so you don't concede as much.
Exactly. So we'll see. I mean, they've added depth to the defense like Zappacosta. Christensen has come back from Torino. Actually, we'll go back now. We don't fact check.
Yeah.
They brought back Christensen from Mönchengladbach.
Yeah,
so you should have depth.
You should have depth.
So, I mean, they have more depth, but I don't know if they'll be able to compete for the league if they also want to pursue the Champions League.
And they did lose Diego Costa. He's still on the team, but he's suing the team.
Yeah.
So he's not going to play.
He's not on the team.
He's not on the team.
And Thibaut Courtois actually tweeted mocking PK on this one. He said, "Se queda, he's staying with Diego Costa on the pick." So that means he's not playing.
Yeah.
That means he's going to PSG next season.
And they did lose Matic to United, a rival for the title this season, who I think last year was their best midfielder.
Yeah, they let him go with very little fuss.
Yeah.
And now that he's at United, he's gonna provide this structure they didn't have last year, this security, and it's gonna help out a lot, especially when you think of Pogba and Mkhitaryan.
And hey, one thing Matic did say is when he came over to United, he said this is the biggest club I've ever played for. A little shot at Chelsea.
It's a big club though. It's a big club. You can't argue with that.
No,
the facts are the facts. Pogba and Mkhitaryan can now go forward with sort of more freedom, and we've seen that in their first 3 games. How they're 2 guys that can provide a lot of creativity, a lot of goals, and help out their new striker up front, Lukaku.
Which they paid a lot of money for Lukaku, I think 75 million. And they also brought back Ibra, so they have a bit of striker depth with Rashford, Ibra, and Lukaku now up front.
No, it
creates a little competition between the strikers. I think it's
really going to help Rashford. We don't talk much about him, but as a young player, he could really develop this season, really blossom.
He really learns from these veterans.
Exactly. He can provide width. He can play as a second striker with Lukaku. And he's a very good player. I think in a long season with Champions League this season, having those two and Ibra coming in later provides some incredible depth at the striker position, which they can use in a way that Chelsea can't because they don't have that depth.
United, they brought in Lukaku and Matic, which I think were great signings. They also brought in Lindelof, which there's a little...
what did Mourinho say? He said something I can't remember now.
Mourinho publicly said Lindelof isn't good enough for the Premier League. And he said he's not going to play this season, which kind of takes me on to Mourinho, that I don't like him personally as a manager. Yes, he's one of the greats. He's won Champions League with 2 different clubs. He seems to always win the league in his second year, so United may be favourites for this year. Think about it.
They might be. He's unbeaten in that second season. He's won the league every single year. In 2 occasions, he's also won the Champions League in that second season. His best team at Real Madrid was that second team. And in his recent tenure with Chelsea, his second season was the best one. So, are they going to win? I don't know. I mean, they've started.
They started off
real
good.
They have 3 wins.
Only conceded 1 goal.
How many goals? I think they scored
10.
11 goals?
10, 11 goals. Eric Bailly seems like an incredible world-class center back.
Matic, great signing. Mkhitaryan and Pogba have been excellent.
They're still playing Valencia and Blind at their fullbacks, and they're still coming up with these shutouts. So even though they haven't played the best teams in their first,
they do have, in my opinion, the best goal in the world. And De Gea. And you know, we always talk about defense. I think we said it in the PSG video. It's not so much how good your defense is, but if you can improve your midfield and attack and have more of the ball. Press that other team more so they don't have as many chances going forward against you. You will become better defensively just because of that.
One thing that United probably isn't happy with in this transfer window is they didn't get that winger they were looking for. They were linked with Perisic a lot of this summer and a bit with Bale, and they didn't get either of those 2 players.
Yeah, there's an element of counter-attacking that they don't quite get because they don't have that kind of winger. We saw, for example, in the summer, Liverpool, a team that loves its counter-attacking and rampant attack. They brought in Salah to add attack to Mane and Firmino to counter-attack. They won't quite have it, so you wonder how United responds to teams that sort of sit back on them. Kind of how they like to do in the big games. Liverpool, on the other hand, I don't think they're going to have that issue. I think their energy and attack suits their addition of Salah really well, and I think that they could also challenge.
Not only Salah, they also brought in another pacey winger in Oxlade-Chamberlain from Arsenal.
Is he gonna play?
If he stays healthy, well, he will play with these extra games in the Champions League. They have to put him in the rotation because Klopp does like to play a high-paced energy system, and with that high pressing, it tires out the players and it creates a lot of injuries. So it's good for him to have this forward depth, so he can have a good rotation.
It also gives him, I think, tactical flexibility. You've got a guy who played wing back for Arsenal.
He plays a lot. He plays a lot of different positions.
He's a guy whose skill set sort of allows him to play in very different positions. So he could play wing back in a 3 at the back. That's one of the.
He's played at some points for Arsenal in the midfield, sometimes attacking.
He brings a lot of energy also off the bench. So you could see Klopp playing around with him a little bit. Sort of how he used.
He's a utility player.
I'm gonna butcher this guy's name. Kuba Błaszczykowski at BBB. Sorry if I butchered that guy's name. He's Polish. I'm sorry. But he used him at fullback, at winger, sometimes an attacking midfielder, and he sort of put him where he saw fit to maximize the system.
Even though Liverpool, they did sign 2 attacking players, they didn't really fix that gap, that hole they have in defense by signing a center back. They were looking at Virgil van Dijk for a lot of the summer from Southampton, but that fell through. And their backline still seems weak and wary. I don't know if they're playing Moreno or Milner still at left back. Mignolet is a liability. You don't know if he's going to play good or bad. He's up and down a lot. Karius isn't much of a goalie either, and Lovren really hasn't shown to be the defender.
They're going to be putting a lot on Matip's shoulders, and they're going to be putting a lot on the hope that they can outscore the other team.
Their system is more centered around score more than the other team and will win games.
I agree. So we'll see. I mean,
and they kept Coutinho.
They kept Coutinho, which is like a signing on its own. Because from what we've seen this season so far, Coutinho hasn't played. He hasn't featured in the team. So you think an addition like him, especially coming from midfield, we saw just recently against Ecuador how good he was for Brazil in the midfield, scoring a goal running the show.
And I like now that since they brought in Salah, they can play him in the midfield, be more creative.
Right, exactly. So I think that that's gonna be real good for them, and they're good. They can challenge for the championship. I don't know. There's another team in London that also plays real pretty football that I think might be able to give them a run for the money.
Who could you be talking about?
Well, it's not Arsenal. And we already talked about Chelsea.
It's not Arsenal. Chelsea's out of there.
And we said that we're not talking about the bad teams.
Yeah.
So sorry, West Ham.
Yeah.
Whoever else is in London. It has to be Tottenham.
Yeah.
The team currently occupying Wembley Stadium.
They are
a cathedral of the game.
a great pitch, I guess.
But so far, the stadium hasn't quite been working for them.
No, for the first 3 games, they've won 1, tied 1, and lost 1. So they haven't started off the season hot, but I do think they're probably the best young team in England. They got a lot of depth. They brought in Davinson Sanchez. Is that how you say Davinson?
From Colombia, Davinson.
They also brought in Aurier, a right back.
Another mispronunciation of the name.
All right, and
okay.
Fernando Llorente.
Llorente,
all right.
Llorente.
And he scored 17 goals, I think it was, for Swansea last season. A good backup striker for 17 million. They brought in depth since they are playing Champions League again.
And that's been a big struggle for them in the last few years.
Yeah.
Competing in Europe. I think this year they really want to make a run for both.
Yeah.
So the depth allows them to do that. But it's still down to how they perform in the big games.
Exactly.
How Harry Kane especially performs in the big games.
Harry Kane, honestly, maybe a little bit of an underrated striker in the Premier League.
A bit of a stat pattern.
He's a bit of a stat pattern. He does score hat tricks, 4 goals against sides like Burnley and Crystal Palace.
Leicester last season.
And Leicester and whatever. But he's still a good striker. But the best player on that team is probably by far Dele Alli.
I wouldn't say by far. They've got guys like Eriksen.
Eriksen's a good creative player too.
Hugo Lloris or
Dyer's a good holding player.
Dyer's really good.
Dembele.
You know, they've got guys like Dembele's excellent.
But Dele Alli,
Wanyama coming up the bench.
Probably one of the best young talents in Europe right now. He scored, I think it was close to 16 goals and had 10 plus assists last season. And he's really shown himself as a proven talent in England at only age 20.
They are the most aesthetically pleasing team in the Prem. I think they play the best.
And they have
style.
a great manager in Pochettino.
Very done a great job with them. You know, in the last 2 years, they finished 3rd and 2nd respectively.
Mm-hmm.
But they've sort of been the best team.
Yeah.
From sort of beginning to end in the last 2 years when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 76 games.
Yeah.
They've just been unlucky that sort of Chelsea and Leicester hit these crazy highs that they didn't quite hit. I think this year, everyone in that club knows, hey, it's time to go out and win the league.
I think after the last 2 seasons, since they did fall off at the end of the season, they've learned from that, and now they'll take that into this season, and maybe they'll prove that they're in it for the long run and they won't collapse in the last couple months.
They need to win the big games. Chelsea just walked into their stadium with some suspensions, some players injured, and won. Mm-hmm. Chelsea found a way to win. Marcos Alonso scored 2 goals.
And if you want to win the Premier League, you have to win those gritty games. You have to grind out those games and win those games against the big clubs. That's even against the little clubs. You got to win those 1-0s, 2-1s at Stoke, away at Stoke.
You need to learn how to win. And Chelsea, champions of 2 of the last 3, sort of showed that at Wembley. Coming in with injuries, with suspensions.
After losing the first game of the season.
After losing the first game of the season. And they got 2 goals from their left back.
Yeah.
And Marcos Alonso. But they find a way to win.
Yeah. That's what Tottenham.
And they don't have that champions resolve yet. Mm-hmm. But I think they've earned it these last few seasons. I think they're gonna show it this season. And it's a champions resolve that I guess we have to talk about them now, but their neighbors don't quite have in North London and Arsenal. When the going gets tough, they crumble.
No, they had, honestly, in my opinion, an awful transfer window. They struggled bringing in big names. They didn't bring any depth into the squad. Sanchez had 1 foot out the door all season. He was linked away to another rival city all year.
Well, yeah, I mean, a bunch of teams.
Ozil doesn't look like the same player he was maybe a couple of years ago. He always disappears in these big games and doesn't show up. You always see on Twitter, where's Ozil? Is he missing? Is he even playing? Like, what's going on? Whose back pocket is he in this game?
Yeah, and in these big games, it always boils down to Sanchez trying to do it all.
Really, yeah.
Giroud, a guy who, he's not the best player.
No.
He's a great player to play off of, winning the ball in there, but he can't quite do it in the big games.
And I don't know if you've noticed, sorry to cut you off, but Arsenal have been playing some new formation with the 3 at the back. They're playing Monreal at center back and Bellerin just looks lost on the pitch.
I mean,
they're playing with two midfielders and they can't hold the ball, they can't dominate, and
which is crazy to think because some of Wenger's best teams for Arsenal, even in sort of recent memory, were predicated on moving the ball,
exactly
really playing it around.
They've even been called like the Barcelona of England.
Right, and I think that this all kind of leads back to Wenger, how, when is he gonna leave? I mean, it's time to leave. I do think he's a good manager. I do think that had he left Arsenal at some point within the last 7 years, at any point, and he would have gone somewhere else, I think not only would Arsenal be better for it, he would be better for it. And the message has gone stale for a lot of those players. And I just think it's time to go.
In my opinion, sometimes it's good to get new blood in there, just to get the players going. Like, you can't have the same thing going on for years.
People sometimes like change. Change sometimes brings the best out of people.
Maybe it'll spark something in that team to change it up.
Yeah, and don't you feel like it's been the same team? I know it really hasn't, but for so many years it's been the same team, sort of with the same weaknesses.
It seems like it's the same story every year.
It's the same story every year, and there will be periods of time in the season where they look great. Mm-hmm. And then it all just comes crashing down once again. Exactly.
I started worrying for them when in the third game of the season they're benching their new signing Lacazette to play Welbeck up front. Like, let's be honest. Like, what is Wenger thinking?
Yeah. And Lacazette's a guy that relies a lot on the service of others.
Yeah, I think this will really be a down season for Arsenal, especially after not qualifying for the Champions League for the first time in about 20 years.
What do you mean down season? Because they finished 5th last season.
Are you
potentially predicting
it's going to
be
a
bigger
season.
Downfall?
I think it's going down for Arsenal. I think after this season, Wenger is gone, Sanchez is leaving, Ozil's leaving. It's going to be time. It's going to be a rebuild period for them after the season.
So,
mark my words.
You're predicting a down season. So would you say maybe a team like Everton could potentially?
I like Everton still.
Pass them?
I do like what Everton have going on. They retained Ross Barkley after he walked out of the Chelsea medical.
So this guy was taking him. We talked about this before, how Chelsea didn't quite get the players they wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on in Chelsea? A team that's won 2 of the last 3.
It does bring some
Premier
question
Leagues.
marks. Yeah,
they really, at least in my lifetime, they've probably been the best English team.
Yeah.
United had their run with Ronaldo, but I mean, they've probably been the best, most consistent team. And here's a guy, in his medical, he didn't want to go anymore.
You don't really see stuff like that. But they brought in Rooney. They brought Rooney back into Goodison. They brought in Sandro from Malaga, the Spanish striker.
Yeah.
They brought in Kane from Burnley, who's a really good young youth.
Keane? Yeah, Keane.
They brought in Pickford.
Pickford, yeah.
Also a great goalie, and they got some good depth. I like their team. They're probably the next team after the top 6. It's Everton for sure as a staple, and then it's the rest.
Yeah, and Ronald Koeman as a manager, we cannot understate that. I mean, he's a guy who grew up in the... I think he's going to bring up a lot of positive energies. His first season for Southampton was really good. I think as time goes on, maybe his style doesn't quite last or they lose players. But I think Everton should challenge to be a top 6 team.
Yeah, and it brings up a good point. Rooney seems to have at least started off the season a bit of a new player. He's scoring goals. He seems sort of like the old Rooney under Ronald Koeman.
Well, I think at United, there were too many things.
There's too much pressure on
working against him.
United. They're like, Rooney, it's time for him to go. People are pushing him out the door, and he's welcome here at Everton. It feels like home. He's been there before.
This is like home to him.
The other big Manchester club, City, gutted half of their squad.
So Pep Guardiola sat down this season.
Yeah.
He looked at the squad sheet.
And he
sort of how you do in career mode, you open up team, and he pressed transfer listed on half the players.
It's almost like he was playing FIFA.
Yeah, he looked at the dead weight. Said, so Sanya.
So Sanya's out, Clichy's out,
Fernando's out.
And
Kolarov
is the other one out. Joe Hart's gone, Boney's gone, Ian Nacho's gone. He got rid of all the dead weight in his second year, which he didn't do in his first year, and he brought in a whole lot of fullbacks. He
said in an interview, he's like, we haven't signed good fullbacks in years.
And it was time.
So we signed 3 of them.
So he got Mendy, Walker, and Danilo from.
And what do you think of this notion where he got essentially not so much Mendy, but he got 2 rejects in Danilo and Walker, 2 guys that were sort of exiled from their clubs. They were persona non grata.
I think Walker was a good player, but I don't understand the fee that they paid for him for a person who has lost his first team spot at a rival club. How do you justify paying $50 million?
And what is the idea with Danilo? Because
I think what Pep is mostly looking at is because all 3 of those fullbacks are similar. They have athleticism. They're fast. They like to get forward. They like to get crosses in, and that's fits Pep's style, what he's trying to play. So that's why he was looking at those players. They were available because maybe they were rejects of their club, so he can bring them in. And under Pep's system, under his guidance, they could really thrive.
I think Pep sees Danilo's more of a project. He sees the raw skills,
Yeah.
and he sees maybe what other.
You've said it before. Danilo's sort of similar to Marcelo.
I think
What
a
it
lot of
was
the
early
criticisms
days.
of Danilo were similar to those of Marcelo. I mean,
Yeah.
just 4 years ago, 2013, September 2013, the starter for Real Madrid, it was Coentrao.
Oh yeah.
Coentrao was the starter, and Marcelo worked into it. So I think Pep sort of sees him and maybe what other Brazilian fullbacks become. And he knows of one in Dani Alves.
Yeah.
We talked about in the previous show. I think he sees him as a project. Walker's sort of more ready for the English game.
Yeah.
So he'll
He's
play,
played his whole career in the
and
English.
then he'll slowly usher Danilo in.
Yeah.
Mendy was excellent for Monaco last year. Will probably
Sorry,
start
left back.
in the World Cup for France unless Kurzawa takes his spot, which he could. And there's also Digne at Barca.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Watch him every weekend. So we'll see.
I like that Danilo can play both left and right back, so he's versatile. He can play both sides.
You could see him in a back three, playing up there as a wing back.
Let's not forget it. They also brought in Bernardo Silva, one of Monaco's better players last season.
Pep would know they played Monaco.
They played Monaco. He played
in that 5-3.
The
first, he was in my opinion the best player on the field.
Yeah, he's creative. He's the ball on his feet. Great tactical skills. He knows how to play the game. He's young.
He's a good modern attacker. Can drift in and out of the central role.
Even though
decent with the ball.
I don't know if you agree, but he seems more of a sort of maybe depth player. Like in the new system Pep's trying to enforce, I don't really see how he fits.
So it seems like they're playing a 5-3-2. 3-5-2.
Yeah, 3-5-2. Yeah.
Where Fernandinho sits behind De Bruyne and Silva.
And then he's playing Jesus and
And we've seen this season so far Sterling coming off the bench to provide that jolt. I think Silva could be used in a similar way. You could even see them trying to harness Elite, putting him in as sort of the fourth midfielder.
Yeah. I really like the depth that they have. Because they have Sane, Sterling, and Silva all coming off the bench.
And Sterling has proven it so far.
And they can all do something.
Yeah, he scored against Everton and Bournemouth off the bench. But at the end of the day, they're going to have the ball. They're going to create chances. It's up to Aguero and Jesus to score.
They've started off the season pretty well. They tied one game against.
You know what? Yeah, it wasn't great. Their draw against Everton, they went down on them pretty quick.
And it took a last minute.
And it took a last minute goal to come back. But the heart they showed down on man was excellent. Yeah. Bournemouth, it took a late comeback also to win the game. So they're gonna have to sort that out.
Since there are a lot of new players that are in the team, and there's a new system Pep's trying to enforce, I think it's gonna take them a little while.
I think right now,
once they gel,
I think United is sort of the team of all those that we talked about.
You know what? Let's talk about it. So give me what you think the top 7.
So I think at the end of the season, if my prediction that Gabriel Jesus is going to become the best striker in the Prem this season.
All right, you heard it here.
If that is right, City will finish number 1.
Okay. I think he's going to be their key player.
And not the key player so much. I think. Well, he might be. I think he'll be.
You're saying he's going to have a big year.
I think he's going to have a great year. City at number 1.
Yeah.
I gotta say United at number 2.
Okay.
I think they look great so far.
Yeah. Won all
Tottenham at number 3.
Okay.
And Chelsea at number 4. I think Liverpool on the outside looking in the 5th. Everton at 6th. And Arsenal at 7th.
Wow.
It's gonna be a down year. The Sanchez even gonna be there. Is Ozil gonna show up? What about Wenger? Is he gonna last the whole season? We've said this before, but is he gonna last the whole season?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I don't know how Xhaka, Ramsey midfield.
I don't know how.
Does it?
Well, they gotta stay on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you quite see the top 7. We might disagree in some places.
Here, I'll tell you right now who I got going. I think Mourinho, he showed in his second year that he knows how to do it once he gets his players going. So I have United winning the Premier League this year.
All right.
I have City as a close second. Okay. It's gonna be a lot closer than it was last year.
We're gonna have a 2012-like situation.
Yeah, and then I have Tottenham at 3, Chelsea at 4. Same with you. Liverpool outside looking in.
5th.
They're close, but they're not quite there.
Their defensive struggles, I think, are gonna undo them.
And then I have Arsenal 6, Everton 7.
Everton 7.
So that's how we run it.
It's gonna be a great season.
I think it's gonna be a close season. It's exciting.
As usual, I think it's gonna be.
Last year was a bit of a Chelsea sort of ran
Just
away
kinda
with
ran
it.
away.
We knew early they were gonna win, but this year's gonna be close. A lot of competitive games, a lot of new look players in different teams. And
Well, just about every weekend is sort of a must-watch game.
Yeah.
In sort of that top 7 region.
it might not be the best brand of soccer in the world, but it is probably the most
It is
competitive
exciting.
and exciting. Yeah.
It's exciting. So I mean, for the fans of the 13 other teams, and we shit on Arsenal too. So 12. I mean 14.
Yeah.
Sorry. Enjoy the season. Try not to get relegated.
Yeah.
And
Hey.
for the fans of the 7 that we talked about, good luck.
And hey, for everyone watching, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe.
Share, tell your friends, tell your family. We're a voice from the stands. Coming with soccer, maybe later a little bit of basketball.
Yeah, we can bring
What
it
do
up.
you think? What do you think? A little bit
A little
of
basketball.
a little basketball
and,
later.
We'll be back with another video soon.
Alright, thank you.